In this video, we'll be doing a deep dive of the top 3 keeper in Australia, Jetsy. We'll cover all aspects of goalkeeping, including his height and weight, his skill points, settings, mistakes and how to avoid them, and finally his top 3 tips. Okay, Jetsy, can you explain why you've chosen this height and weight for GK?
Well, I've chosen 6'4" and 176 pounds because I feel like 6'4" is like the perfect weight because it's like in between the middle, like it's not too big or not too small. And with the weight, I've chosen 176 pounds because you get an extra 2 points of kicking into your build. And if you did 174, you get -2, but you get +3 more pace. But I don't really think you need the pace, to be fair.
Okay, so Jetsy, I'm in the settings now. Which GK settings do you have on?
For the save assistance, I have manual on because I feel like you get less weird animations. But if you're getting into goalkeeping, I would say start on semi and then work your way down when you feel comfortable enough to go into manual. Because most goalkeepers always like fraud out on semi. Because semi can give you the most weirdest animations, like when I
Okay.
started playing.
And then we'll quickly go into the obvious one, which is camera settings. So which camera settings do you use?
I just use the default one Pro and like the custom settings all 1010. That's it.
Okay, so Jetsy, why have you chosen these things for physical?
Mostly I've chosen jumping because I feel like I need it when I'm 6'4" and not like one of the bigger goalkeepers, and I reckon you can get up quicker on like the corners and stuff. And strengths are there just to be big, really.
Okay, so I see here you have quite a lot on dribbling. What's the reasoning for this?
Well, it's mostly for agility and balance because I feel like when you're a goalkeeper, you need to have a good agility when you're turning around with a ball when you receive it.
So now we'll move on to passing.
But, well, passing's a given when you call for it short. When you call for it back, I meant you have to get it up the field or anything like that. And with the second line, you get swerve pass there, and it's really good to like if the fullbacks hit you back, you can just like 1-2 it with them, and you get a swaz pass really.
Okay, so I can see in the shooting section you only have 2-star weak foot. Is there a reason for this?
Uh,
Why you haven't gone to 5-star or 4-star?
I've tested it when the game first came out. I feel like there's no difference between 5-star and 2-star. Is they all just shoot the same, even when you're on your left. Oh, I'm right-footed, so on my left foot it feels the same.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Jetsy, I see in pace you basically have everything on.
yeah,
What's the reason for this?
just to get off your line quicker, I guess. Just make sure you close down the defender.
Did it help in the box at all? With making saves or like jockeying left to right?
Um, that's where I feel like agility and stuff comes into, and like the
Yeah, that's
acceleration's pretty
true.
low, but like when we get into the tips, I'll tell you the gist of the jockeying and stuff.
And then the final skill point is to go into goalkeeping. It's kind of self-explanatory. Okay, so now Jetsy, we're going to go into the 3 big mistakes that goalkeepers make and how to avoid them. So
Yeah.
Jetsy, can you start off your first big mistake?
Well, this is more for the newer goalkeepers, but it's keepers just holding the sprint button across goals, like going for the sweats and stuff, and for corners, instead of just holding RT and just running wild as like a headless chicken. You can hold LT, like the jockeying button, and do it. So hold LT and sprint, because then you won't get it as a weird animation going through it. Because I've seen like Superman punches and stuff like that when you just hold sprint and you just don't get any good animations out of it.
So now we're going to the second big mistake.
Um, I reckon the second big mistake is keepers not calling for the ball off long balls. So like when another keeper like just boots it up and you're not calling for it and your defender's not knowing what they're gonna do. So if it's like a close situation and you're not calling for the ball and your defender's right next to you, you'll just flop on the floor. I've had this countless times, and me and Bambi have figured that out. If you call for the ball and the defender locks off, you can get the ball instead of him and not falling on the floor like a weirdo.
Now we're going to the third and final mistake that you see other GKs make.
It's not really like a mistake or anything, like what they do. It's just like a mentality thing. You just got to remember that you will concede. You always got to keep your head up and just keep going. It's FIFA. You get bad animations. You will always concede, but you got to keep your head up and keep going with the game. and you will make the next save, honestly.
Okay, so now that mistakes are done for other GKs, we're now going to go into 3 tips that Jetsy recommends for other GKs. So Jetsy, can you start with your first tip?
My first tip is for like one-on-one situations, and it's just reading the play, to be honest. Like watching the person's touches. If he's having like a really bad touch, you could sprint out and get that ball and receive it. And if you see, you just got to what how the play's going. If you see someone who there's a sweat, just make sure you have an eye out for it, because they could sweat it or the other guy could shoot. You just have to be on your toes all the time.
Okay, so now we're going to the second tip that you recommend for other goalkeepers.
Uh, and the second tip is kicking. I reckon kicking defines the GK in clubs, in my opinion. Everyone can save a ball. It's not that hard. Your kicks define the game. Make sure you tell your wingers and strikers what you're doing. So if you're going for a wing, make sure you tell them if you're going over the ball or you're doing a flat kick. If you're doing a flat kick, make sure you call it so that the winger stays still and it goes straight to them. And if you're doing over the top ball, just make sure you call it, and so this wingers just start sprinting for that long ball. And for throwing, playing out, so like if you're going to throw the ball, make sure you're telling him. If you're going to drop the ball and just punt it up with the over the top ball like an L1 triangle, they're really deadly, I would say, in this FIFA. If you see a fullback tucked in really hard, make sure you tell your winger and drop the ball and L1 triangle over them. Then things go flying. Yeah.
Okay, so now Jetsy, your final tip for other goalkeepers in pro clubs.
One of my final tips would be for reflex saves, like them close call, like you're right next to the player. I figured this out by myself when I was messing about in what's it called, skill games. And if you press square or like hold it, and it's like a reflex save, you can get a really nice animation. But like if it's square, and if you do it for long shots and stuff, you would just flop on the floor. You won't get an animation. It has to be only for short shots. This is good for one-on-ones and sweats and stuff. Well, I've got a little fourth tip for the people. I didn't know this when I first started keeping, and I considered it off it, but someone told me about it. So if the defenders or if the other team punts it up and you run out of your box, you can come back in, press R1, pick up the ball, and reset the play.
Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do in this video is go into some tips for penalty shootouts. Especially in competitive clubs, it can come down to the wire in terms of staying in a competition or winning the grand final. Go ahead, Jetsy.
Uh, well, my tips on penalties would be don't second guess yourself. Just go where you want to go. Like the head, like they nerfed the head movement this year, like after a patch, so it's not as good as it used to be. So you just have to go your way. In my opinion, just do yourself. Like I feel like I costed my team in the semi-finals, Razzlers, because I was just out of it. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. But I wasn't thinking, and that's why we lost, I reckon. But you got to do what you do. Head up, and you go next season.
Okay, so cheers, Jetsy, for coming on. I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Is there any
no
last things you can
problem.
say for other GKs?
For other GKs, I would say just know that you're going to concede. You're not always going to have the best game. Real life and clubs, it's all the same. You're going to concede. Just head up and keep going.
Thanks for watching. Like and sub if you found this helpful.